Video clips on blindness tips, a series of video demonstrations for daily living skills for the blind and visually impaired, presented in conjunction with the Washington State School for the Blind. The following clip features Becky Sherman of the Department of Services for the Blind. Becky teaches daily living skills to blind and visually impaired children and adults. This tip explains how to safely use a conventional oven.
Today we're going to talk about introducing your student to the oven. First of all, I want to make sure that you know how wide the area is, what you're working in. The oven is as wide as the stove, so you can center yourself in the middle of the stove whenever you're going to do anything. Look at the controls on this stove are down lower than most stoves, but you would want to make sure you know where you are in relationship to the oven and the handle. First of all, we'll look at the panel. This panel is made, it's digital. And so it's tricky to braille, but it can be done. For an example, this dial, this button says bake. And you move over, and this one says temperature. When you're introducing yourself to the stove or your child, you know you will tell them that temperature is in the middle, and right above you put is up arrow, and right below it is a down arrow. As you press the up arrow to set your temperature, it goes up in 5-degree increments. So if you needed 375, you push it 5 times. And then you would press start, and the oven clicks on. And then when it tells you, or you decide that it's preheated, you put your food in, and then when it's done, you press off. You can braille other areas. Obviously, there's broil and clean and time and that kind of thing. You can braille those as they are needed. Next, you want to make sure you're in the center of the oven. We kind of know how to set the controls. You open the oven door all the way down. Never leave it halfway. If you leave it halfway, it's very easy to be pulling something out of the oven and the oven door slam on your arm. So make sure you never do that. When you're introducing the inside of the oven, check out the width and the depth of the oven. And find out that there is a light in here, which a lot of blind people don't realize. So that's good to know. And then at the top we have the element. You have to be careful when you reach in the oven to make sure you don't touch your arms on it when you're putting food in and out. You have 2 racks in an oven. The racks are held by supports. These different supports run the length of the depth of the oven, and they support the rack on any level that you need. Most items are baked in the center. The way to find the center would be to count the rack supports and find out where the level that you want. As you see the oven rack slide in and out, you can put your food on it, slide it in, slide it out to take your food off, or if you're comfortable, you can just set your food in there with the rack all the way back. The rack will come out for cleaning. With this particular oven, you raise the rack up and pull it out and find out that there is a lip on the back. So if you have a pan, it's not likely to slide off when you pull the rack out to take a pan out of the oven. You have the lip, so your pan, when you pull it, is not going to slide off. Some racks do not have that. Then, the oven also has a bottom element. And this is used mostly in baking, but depending on the temperature, you can have both elements running. So always be aware of those elements. And always shut the door. The longer you leave the door open, the more heat loss you have, and then your food is not going to cook as quickly. Now, when you're teaching someone how to put something in the oven, it's always best, again, to do it cold. So we are going to try a cookie sheet. This is a really heavy cookie sheet. What I do is I set it on the top of the stove. Again, you center yourself, and you pull the door down, all the way down. And you want to make sure your rack is at the right level. And for most cookies and things, it needs to be in the middle of the oven. And again, you can count the number of these supports to tell if you're centered or not in the oven. Then, when you're centered, pick your pan up, come out over the edge, come straight down, and slide it in. Now, if you're centered, you're less likely to bump your hands on the side or bump your arms up here. So you have to be careful about that. To take it out, you can pull it out and then take it out and set it on top of the stove. Or you can just pull it out from inside the stove, pull it out, but you have to make sure you come up and away. If you come up too close and hit your pan, you're gonna dump stuff, whether it's liquid or cookies, and we don't wanna lose any of those cookies. Okay, this pan is also a cookie sheet, but as you can see, it only has one edge that is raised to keep anything from sliding off. So it's very important to learn how to keep your pans level. Of course, when we move over to starting to cook and the oven is on and preheated, we need to use oven mitts or gloves or something to protect our hands. The pot holders are good, but they don't always protect the back side of your arm or your hand or the lower part of your arm. And they're kind of thick and bulky, and it's harder to feel the edge of the pan because you have to get a hold of it kind of in a funny way, and so you have less hand control, muscle control, and so you may choose or may not choose to use the pot holder. They have UV gloves, and these are great because they have the individual fingers, and you can place them the way that best works for you. And if you want to pick up the pan, you can feel the edge, and you can pick it up and hold it. They also have oven mitts that come up to just above your wrist, and they have some longer oven mitts too. So look in your catalogs with daily living skills equipment and make sure you get what works best for the person.
More video clips for blindness tips are available from the Washington State School for the Blind at wssb.wa.gov.